Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Black and Gold Today Digital Edition. Kent Urbanski, Mike Fenner, and Mike Gallagher. I'm Jay Puskar. Guys, what a week 2 it was for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not only did they lose to the Seattle Seahawks, they have lost their starting quarterback for the season. Roethlisberger is out. In steps Mason Rudolph. Guys, your thoughts on just Mason being able to take charge in that second half of play? Mike, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, let's hope he's the heir apparent. And you have to find out at some point things weren't going well to begin with, so maybe we do find out that Mason Rudolph can be the guy. We like that little sampling of a half of football, almost brought this team back to a victory and mounted a fourth quarter comeback. So maybe this all in all will end up being a good thing.
Kent, you were on the sidelines for the game as you are for every home game, and just what kind of vibe did you sense on the sideline as Mason was making his way onto the field?
Well, first of all, it was kind of, I think, according to the fans, no one even knew that Ben was hurt. You know, it wasn't until, they saw him on the sidelines not warming up coming into the second half that they even know that Mason was going to be the guy. I thought he got a pretty good reception, though, when they announced that he was coming out. So, I've not only have I covered, a lot of Steeler games, but I've also done a lot of Pitt games over the last 10 years as well. And I noticed when Pitt played against Oklahoma State multiple times, Mason Rudolph was a good quarterback in college. And I'm like, man, this kid can throw. He's got an NFL arm.
And he's got a receiver who he played with in college.
Exactly. So I'm like, when the Steelers drafted him, I was like, that's a great pick. I love the pick. And so now it's time. I didn't think it would happen this soon, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
And even after the game, when we talked to a lot of the players, they were impressed with his poise. He was ready. He wanted to take the stage. And he engineered 3 scoring drives, scored 2 touchdowns with passes to Vance McDonald. So he wasn't shy whatsoever to be able to be thrusted into that spotlight and play well. And Mike, each and every week, you're down at Steelers practice. Totally different makeup from what we saw even going into the first week of the regular season. A lot of new faces, but the addition of Mason Rudolph now being the #1 guy, some of the shuffling with the quarterbacks. What did you notice down at practice?
Like you said, it's just a totally shaken up room in that quarterback room, because you think about it, a week ago, Josh Dobbs is there. He's traded to Jacksonville. Now Devlin Hodges thinks he's packing up and going to New York City. He's not only back on the practice squad, now he's on the active roster. He's #2. He's a hit away from being in the game. Paxton Lynch, a guy who's kind of a journeyman from Denver, is now part of the roster.
First round draft pick.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not a bad guy to have. There's another option there. But yeah, it's just a totally different, shaken up room now. But I think these guys, like you guys talked about, are very confident in what Mason Rudolph can do. There is kind of like a new energy and a new excitement. And one of the things I thought was key toward the end of that Seattle game was getting the tight ends involved, 2 touchdown connections with Vance McDonald. That could be another safety outlet, going more to the running backs, familiarity with James Washington. Those are the things that are going to help him out, I think, early on.
And that's all in-house stuff, guys. Even during the week, they made a deal with the Miami Dolphins. They sent a first-round pick. They pick up Minka Fitzpatrick. That's a great pickup because Miami right now, it's a dumpster fire down in South Beach. But to get a player like Fitzpatrick, that really bolsters the back end of that defense.
Well, it certainly does. And the thing that he has said, one of the reasons he wanted out is because he didn't know play to play, whether he was at free safety, strong safety, cornerback. They were putting him all over. And the Steelers have told him that you're free safety. That's the only place you're playing, at least this weekend. So he gets the lockdown on that position. And we had Tim Bentz on our show, as we do every week, and he pointed out, surprising to see the Steelers give up a first-round pick.
They normally don't
because
do
that's
that.
so uncharacteristic for
I
the
think
way they've been.
1967 is the last time.
Yeah,
That's
but you're getting a legitimate first-round pick that's already pretty well.
Is the value there then, guys, knowing that you're going to give up a
unless the quarterback situation doesn't work out?
Well, that's yet to be seen, and what happens with the Steelers and where they finish and where they're going to draft next year. If they end up with a high draft pick, then I guess it doesn't. But if they're somewhere 15, 16, 17, then yeah, it works out, because now you have a guy that they were looking at drafting last year in the first round and just didn't get to him, and now he falls into their lap. So, I like the pick for that reason. Now, like you had mentioned, we've got 8 first-round draft picks now on that defense. It's time for them to step up and start playing some ball. And some of these guys need to I don't know. Are they worth that first-round draft?
Yeah,
pick?
we're
You
going
know
to
what I mean?
find out if
Yeah.
all those years of picking that first pick going to the defense.
Yep.
Well, it's time for the defense to be
Right.
one of the premier
Right,
defenses in the
and
league.
can the addition of Fitzpatrick help to stop the bleeding a little bit and give that offense a chance, to stay in a football game with a young Mason Rudolph coming in there? We'll see what happens.
And that was their bugaboo against the Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
Russell Wilson was able to, take charge when he needed to
Right.
in that second half and be able to produce some points when they needed to. And then, of course, convert on that fourth down to seal the game. So that's where the
Yeah.
defense has to step in,
Right.
get them off the field, and allow the offense to go back
Yeah,
and do their job.
And the Steelers rushed 5 on that play too, and the guy still got away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what killed the Steelers in that game.
But he's one of the elite
Right.
quarterbacks, too.
Right,
So that's
right.
a tough challenge.
And that's what I'd like to see different out here in San Francisco. Not rush so much up front, stop their run, and tighten up that defense just a little bit more.
Speaking of the Niners, that's where Pittsburgh is headed next, and it's really weird. Week 1, the big matchup was Roethlisberger versus Brady. This week, it's different. It's Mason Rudolph against Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
A very good San Francisco team, off to a good start, 2-0 as well.
I spent a year I couldn't even pronounce Garoppolo.
Just go Jimmy G.
Just Jimmy
Just
G.
simple as that.
But, his sampling is certainly bigger and certainly one that at least the Bay Area has put in all the marbles in on him based on what he did in New England. Of course, he was hurt last year. So this is really a breakout moment for him. And Rudolph, we've said it over and over, well, maybe this is the guy, and we're going to find out. But, Garoppolo's had a good running game. They're off to a good start. And, again, I think it's going to be up to our defense to show Garoppolo that it's a little bit different.
Well, that's why I think you bring a guy like Fitzpatrick in, because tight ends kill the Steelers all the time. Tight ends that you never even heard about. The guy from Seattle had
Will
2
Disley.
touchdowns.
Yeah, that's alarming when you're going against George Kittle this week.
Yeah.
George Kittle is the real deal,
He's
and
a
the
beast.
Steelers know that. So
Yep.
you bring a guy like Fitzpatrick, maybe he just hangs with that guy and takes him out of the picture. I don't know. I mean, that's my guess as far as what they're going to need to do to stop.
And, Mike, the running game has almost been non-existent for the Steelers the first couple of weeks. How imperative is it to get James Conner going, get Samuels going, and at least help Mason Rudolph at quarterback, knowing that he doesn't have to go out there and win the football game. He can use that balanced attack.
That'll be key. I mean, you got to stay ahead of the chains, stay ahead of the score. They just can't get down early. That's the biggest key to staying with the running game, I think. But it is going to be imperative to get off to a good start with those guys running the football effectively. One thing about the San Francisco 49ers, last year as a team, they had 2 interceptions as a team all season. They had 3 in week 1.
Wow.
So I think their pass defense could be more of the key. And so maybe going up against the running game, could be more of a challenge for the Niners. I also kind of feel like after these first 2 weeks, both these teams could be kind of with fool's gold fortune so far. Not to discount Tampa Bay or Cincinnati or kind of
Right.
go
The
down on their
matchups
fans,
themselves.
but
Yep.
I think San Francisco's 2-0 start and Pittsburgh's 0-2 start could both be a little bit,
Yeah.
We're
still figuring out this NFL season.
There's a lot to
and
figure
where
out
we
here.
stand.
I think those matchups are really tough for Pittsburgh and maybe not so tough for San
Well, hey,
Francisco.
listen, like you said, the running game needs to get established out here. We talked about 8, first-round draft picks on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
We got 3 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line. Start playing some football and
that's true.
open up some holes for these guys.
They
to
probably have
run.
the best offensive line in the
Right,
league.
right.
Yeah, to the running backs' credit in their defense, they really haven't had a lot to run through either.
Right,
I mean, they're
right.
getting swallowed up in the backfield,
Right.
losing 2-3 yards before they even get the ball because of
Right.
how they're pitching it and
Right.
everything.
Yeah. Let's
So,
forget this east-west.
let's go north
run
and
at 'em.
south.
Right. I mean, you got bruisers in James Conner, Jalen Samuels. Let's run at them and use these Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame offensive linemen to open up some holes.
Not to get off the Steelers, but what a crazy year.
Yeah.
just even from the quarterback
starting with the Colts and
Right.
him retiring out of nowhere.
Andrew Luck
retiring out of nowhere, and the Breeze situation.
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning
Is this
is
the first time in
benched.
15 years that the Roethlisberger, no Eli Manning, no Drew Brees?
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah.
Last time none
And
of
so
those
far,
three
the
started
Iron
again.
Man of all of that in that draft class is Phillip Rivers,
Yeah,
and he's
right.
still going strong. But
Right.
how much longer does he have to go?
Yeah,
You make a great
I-
point, Mike, where
clock's
the
ticking,
generation of the great quarterbacks that we've seen over the last 10, 15 years, they might be expiring, and now we're going to start seeing some of these up-and-coming quarterbacks. But
Right.
there's still some question marks out there for a lot of teams out there.
Right, and a lot of teams that are losing young quarterbacks You know, and you look at, I hate to keep going to New England, but you keep looking at a guy like Brady who keeps going at 42, not taking the hits. You know?
That's exactly what it is.
Maybe it's because the referees is telling them to stay off of Tom, right?
Maybe that just a red jersey, you know, don't get hit, don't get
don't
touched.
hit Tom.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
He's the face of the league.
Was the
Come
latest
on.
guy from Miami saying the ref told him not to hit Tom.
Well, guys, what's going to be the key now for Pittsburgh collectively? What do they need to do to pick up that first win? It's so tough to win on the road in the NFL, and they've got to go out to the West Coast. I mean, what's the bottom line for them?
Establish the run.
Yeah.
Control the clock. You know, keep your defense fresh. You know, and that's something that used to. Let's get back to Steeler football. You know, James Conner has 50 rushing yards this year so far. It's
Yeah,
unheard
he
of.
had 150 in the first game last year.
Yeah.
And they're playing behind, I mean, the
Right.
entire way. They're
Right.
not in the lead. They just need to, they have to get off to a good start, establish the run, like you said. And if you're playing from behind, you can't do much as a play caller if you're Randy Fichtner.
Well, I think we've silenced the old how troubling it is to go to the West Coast because the East Coast hasn't been too good to us.
Right, yeah.
So the change of scenery, hopefully, is a
it's not
nice
Oakland.
nice change of pace.
Boy, that's going to be tough though with San Francisco out there. Oh, this is their opening game out there, and they're going to be jacked up for that. So the Steelers are going to have to really bring their A game out there. I'd love to see that defense create some turnovers and give that offense some short field to work with too. You know.
Lastly, guys, I mean, I know they're taking care of business this week, but is it possible to overlook a little bit knowing that you got your first divisional game coming up on a Monday night against Cincinnati? Or is that something that, you know what, we'll worry about that when we cross that bridge?
We need to get a win.
No,
You know?
yeah.
We can't go. We can't.
Yeah,
go
the house is on
Steelers.
fire. You're looking for a way out.
Right.
Yeah, they're not worried about someone
Right.
actually adding fuel to the fire. They need to find their way out of the house.
Right, and Cincinnati's they're no given wins in this league anymore.
Especially when it's in division.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. We look forward to doing this each and every week. So once again, for Kent Urbanski, Mike Fenner, Mike Gallagher, I'm Jay Puskar. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the football this weekend, everybody.
Go Steelers.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.